Okay, I'd like to welcome everybody to the Finance Committee meeting this evening. Members of my committee are myself, the chair, Mr. Dean Holland, who is absent, Mrs. Amy May, who's here, and the alternate, Mrs. Cheryl Ramos. We were going to discuss the budget, is what basically the meeting was for, but before that, I received an email from the auditor and the law director that needed the 2023 appropriations adjusted, correct?
Yes.
Okay. That would be ordinance 24, 2023, ordinance by the Council of the City of New Philadelphia, Ohio, amending the permanent appropriation ordinance for the year 2023. Looks like there's 4 line items. Community control sanctions, $10,000 for professional services, local fiscal recovery, $20,000 premium paid for the fire, OPWC, Glen Drive, $200,000, the CHIP program expense, $30,000.
I already need to make that 40,
Excuse me?
and I already need to make that 40.
You need to
that
make
30,
the
40.
CHIP one?
Yeah,
Okay. I'll correct that. The CHIP program expense is $40,000. Is some of this money just pass-through money?
yes. Glen Drive, it's not actually, OPWC is not actually cash, we just have to record the transaction. Local fiscal recovery, the fire department received a grant for $20,000 for their people, we've already paid that. It's federal money, the same as the ARPA money
Okay.
kind of deal. The community control sanctions is the port fund, and the other one is, excess from the CHIP program that they are spending,
Okay.
so.
So a lot of this is just paperwork that we
Yes,
just need tied up.
yes,
is all it
it's
is.
not any city money at
Okay.
all.
Okay, does any of the members of my committee have any questions about ordinance 24, 2023? Yes, Cheryl?
I understand you said this was no city money, but what is the professional services for the community control sanctions?
Controls. Oh, I don't know what they're gonna do with it. They have a grant from the Ohio Department of Corrections, and they got extra money this year, and they wanted to appropriate it. And I also asked this in the past tonight.
I was gonna ask you that. Any other questions, Cheryl?
No, that's
Okay.
it, thank you.
Any other members of the committee? Any council members? Administration? Public? The auditor has requested that we suspend the rules and pass on first reading, since it's just more or less paperwork, housekeeping is what we're taking care of.
I'll make a motion to add ordinance 24, 2023 to tonight's agenda and pass on first reading.
I'll second that.
Okay, I'll take a vote. Mrs. May?
Yes.
Mrs. Ramos?
Yes,
And I'll vote yes also. Okay, so we will put this on, add this to the agenda for this evening, and ask to suspend the rules and try to pass on first reading. Okay, as for the budget, I'm pretty sure everybody understands it's gonna be a temporary budget, what we're gonna approve or try to pass. So, with that, has everybody had time to look at the spreadsheet that the auditor has presented to everyone?
briefly.
Okay. I skimmed through it very briefly also, since it was a temporary. What I want to do is go over the projects that the mayor has given to me and if there's any other that will be added or brought up, and to see if there's any that, those need to be added to the temporary, or Mayor, or are they already in there for the temporary?
I believe they're all in there, but let's double check,
Okay, all right.
yeah.
Okay. So is, do you want me to go through each one, or do we just want to go to those items that are part of the project? Because they all look pretty much as I was expecting them to look. If you were
Just the
not, if you're not,
projects?
if you just the projects. I think that will save a lot since it's temporary, which I think is good for the incoming members to be able to do the permit after they can see how the year end
I
goes.
just had a quick question for the temporaries. That's like a fourth of the current budget for the first
Well, I
quarter?
actually
He did
cut it
half.
in half.
You put it in
It's
half.
just
is what-
easier.
I saw she put half.
Okay,
Yeah, so it's half. So that, I think that's fair with the three new council members coming, give them a chance to first of all, get their feet wet, then second, to try to understand all the moving parts. So, Mr. Holland, let the record show that Mr. Holland has entered the building
All rise.
at 6:36.
enter the room,
Enter the, well, yeah, enter the. glad to
council
see you.
chambers.
You may now be seated.
Okay, so. Municipal court, I think that was presented by the judge, so is there any of those items anybody wants to discuss? It totaled
Kelly,
three.
can you just run through
Run through 'em?
those? Some of those I couldn't pull
Okay,
off.
okay, it looks like the special project, the first one is a new recording system for the courtroom for $50,000. The second is new flooring, lighting, restroom renovation for $200,000. Payment plan program upgrades for clerk's office. Payment plan program, flooring, lighting, renovation, $30,000. Excuse me, the upgrades for the clerk was $10,000. And then the CLOX cassette units to regulate humidity, other building needs, $80,000. The cassette is a heating and cooling unit. That
Thank you.
totals $370,000.
Thank you for explaining that. I'm
Okay.
thinking cassette player.
Okay, yeah, no, it's a cassette. Yeah, yeah.
Sorry, thank you.
You're very welcome. Okay, everybody good with that? The second is the sewer department, the grit grease building rehab, $400,000. A new dump truck bed, $60,000. Franklin Square Phase 2, Glen Drive Phase 2, and some miscellaneous for $300,000. New SCADA for lift stations, new control panel for Harts and JVS. A SCADA system is the computer system that runs the automation of the, whatever it's working for. So it's gonna be the lift station, it's gonna control the lift station and monitor it, and it can be set for alarms and how they can set parameters. So in case you didn't know.
Thanks.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions about the sewer department? Okay.
How much was that?
$1,010,000. The majority of that is the grit and grease building rehab. Mr. McAbeer, do you want to
Sure.
give a
I
little bit
can.
of what it's going to
Absolutely.
be doing?
Absolutely, Mr. Chairman. That grit and grease building rehab was in the last upgrade, which was approximately 25 years ago. And it takes all the grit and grease out of the wastewater coming in. So just like any other bridge, it travels down some runners, comes back, travels back. And a matter of fact, Brian and I just talked about this today. Just for the bridge alone is $300,000 for just for that part. And we'd also talked about the corrosiveness of that grit and stuff in them blowers. So we don't, we gotta do both blowers, but we're gonna do as much as we can with that money. But again, if anybody's ever been down there, it's underneath the tent down there. And it's getting locked up. They're doing it on manual a lot now because it's getting on a bind a little bit. We did everything we could to try to rectify it, but we're Band-Aiding it right now, but, it is still working, but it needs to be upgraded for sure. Like I say, it's 25 years old and we've got our use out of it for sure.
Okay, thank you very much. Anybody
welcome.
else have any questions? Okay. The Water Department, 6-inch water main and 2-inch galvanized main replacement project, $425,000. Purchase of 2 new vehicles and an air compressor. Purchase of a new mower. Trade old zero-turn towards the purchase of a new one. Mr. McAbeer, the locations that you're planning on doing the upgrades of the water lines for
Yes, we've got, some Second Street Southwest, that's 700 block. 452 foot of linear foot of 2-inch with 6-inch, and add another 267 foot of 6-inch to create a loop and 10 services. And, that's approximately 143,000. And then on Second Street Northeast, Raid Affair, replace 622 linear foot of 2-inch with 6-inch with 11 services on that, and that's approximately 128,000. And then North Avenue Northeast, replace 450 foot of 2-inch with 6-inch and 72 foot, a linear foot of 6-inch to create a loop, and that has 13 services, and that's roughly 131,000.
Okay. Any questions? No. Miles and miles. The question by Mr. Holland was, how much 2-inch line do we have in the city left?
Oh,
I said, I told him miles and
Too
miles.
much.
Millions.
Yeah.
I mean, when 8 years ago, they had a sheet and it was like 44.
Yep.
I don't want to say, but I should say $4.5 million to replace it back then.
Yeah.
We've slowly been pecking at it, as you can see, so.
I think there's 80 miles of pipe is what I think we calculated back when I did my first.
You might be, I
It's
don't
on
want
the,
to say.
it's on the sheet I have.
Yeah, I know
It's
it's on
80
that.
miles of pipe in 2011. So you have added since then.
Yes.
So that's an idea, and I'll say a third of that, maybe not quite.
Maybe not quite a
quarter of
third.
that is 2-inch or less.
And the important thing about that, which, well, Kelly knows, but help out, is there's no fire protection in those areas, so we gotta get that hydrant down there, and then, also, that loop helps out a lot too, in those 2 areas we're gonna try to loop, because if you've got a leak here, you can be fed another way, so these people aren't out, so just trying to slowly peck at that $4.5 million worth of
Right.
2-inch line out there.
If you basically look at a water system as a hydraulic system, so when they do loop a line, it takes a lot of pressure off the system by looping that isn't hitting a dead end or getting restricted to cause a venturi, which, what a venturi does, when you take a big pipe and go down to a small pipe and back up to a big pipe, that water wants to go real fast, and then when you stop it, that's where you get water hammers, and that's how they get there. That's one of the ways to get a lot of water line breaks, so, I'm always in favor of replacing old, and especially 2-inch line and upgrading. It helps the citizens, plus fire protection, which helps our ISO rating immensely. And by helping your ISO rating, everybody's property insurance goes down because we have better fire protection. Okay, the fire department, new pickup truck to replace the 2014, $68,000. Okay. Police department, 3 new cruisers, lease, body cameras, replace HVAC unit, and new windows. 50,000, but the first one was 200,000 for the cruisers and the body cams. The HVAC is 50,000. That's a total of 250,000 for the police department. Any questions? Yes?
Oh, sorry. Are these other body cams than the ones we just got?
I cannot answer that. I'd have to
We
defer
got
to.
car cams.
Car cam, okay, thank you.
So that should be a dash cam is what this should say, or is it body
It
cam?
should
No,
say
these are body cams.
body
Okay,
cam,
all
we
right.
got dash cams.
Okay,
Yeah, we did the car cams
okay,
a couple meetings ago.
okay. All right.
Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Holland?
Did we get the grant on the body cam?
Don't know yet.
Okay, any other questions, members? Okay. Park and Recreation, new leaf machine. I can't believe that.
Yeah.
That
old
was,
is
that was
that?
old when I was here.
How
That was old
is
when I
that?
started.
Yeah,
Okay,
As old as I
a
am,
new
I think.
30, that's as old as Ron.
yeah, it's old.
Yes. A new 31 horsepower turbo force, 6,000 Toro motor. And that's 165,000.
No, that's all in there.
Yeah, that's several different motors, I'm gonna take it.
Well, no, actually, and I don't know, but I noticed that today. If you go to his budget, it kind of, but what he has in there, he's got in there, with that, there's two dump trucks, 1 tons, the 91 and 2003. Right now, that could be reduced by 65 because, Hostetler had called last week, we may have one.
Okay,
So that number, so what I'm saying is he had 130 for 2 trucks, and then this leaf machine of the, it says 28 here.
Yeah.
That's why the whole 165 there, he has a little bit of fluff in there. That's that number of the 165.
so 2 dump trucks are included in that.
Yeah, and we may end up with 1 this year.
Right,
that
so
could
if
be
we do, we can
reduced.
reduce that.
Right, right.
So we understand that'll get reduced if we spend that money, because I think it was in budget 2 years
Yep.
ago.
It's
You
in
couldn't
this
get
year,
any.
it's in this year's
Yeah.
budget.
Okay,
It's in 2023's budget.
so if you spend it, then we'll reduce it.
Yes, to get
Okay.
the other one. And those are, the one was a 91 and the other one's a 2003. The trucks we're replacing.
Yeah.
So hopefully get one this year, replace the 91, and then if we get the next year, replace the 2003.
Okay. And then you have, down trade-in, 3 John Deere tractors and a Gator. I think they rotate those around.
That's the
That's
usual.
what they do.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. That comes a total of 320,000. Okay. Next is mayor's office. He needs a new copier
Desperately.
for 10. Any questions? Okay. Service department, new service director's vehicle. New one to be building and zone administrator, 40,000. Kent State University Connector Trail Project, local match 120,000. Total of 165 for the service department. Any questions?
And I could talk about that, the vehicle, if I could for a minute, Mr. Chairman.
Okay?
The car I have now, the Equinox is a 16. We're gonna give it to, Zone Administrator Matthias, and then Tessa would like to have that cruiser back because of, there's not a whole lot of spares. So actually, it's gonna be
So it'll go back,
twofold.
put back in her line.
Yeah,
Okay.
the cruiser, which Josh has, gonna go back to the PD.
Okay.
My car will go to Josh, and then I'll have the newer vehicle.
Okay. Will she need to have money to equip it as a service?
I don't know her plans. I don't wanna speak for her. I don't know.
Mr. Popham, could you check on that? Because I'm trying to make sure we can clean up as many things as we can so the new council members don't have to do little things like that.
Without checking, I would assume it's gonna go back to her because of the shortages in
Right.
cruisers
Yeah.
right now.
But if she
so-
needs cameras and equipment for it,
Right,
let's put it in.
I'll
Okay.
let her know that tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
Mr.
Cemetery
Chairman-
Department.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I just want to say, go back to the Parks and Recreation. That Turbo Force mower, it was a typo on my part.
Okay.
The
Oh,
Rod put 16,500, not 165. So,
Okay,
yeah,
so we can reduce that by 150,000.
mayor apologizes.
So we can take
Yeah.
150,000 off of that one?
There you go.
Okay,
Yep.
okay, so let's do that. So we only need $170,000 there.
Right.
Okay. Everybody have that? You tell Rod, or,
he did all right.
yeah,
Yeah.
we felt bad for him. Oh, because that, his leaf machine. Okay, Cemetery Department, new pickup truck, mower equipment trade, 100,000. Demolition of East Avenue office building, $25,000 for $125,000. Is that just one pickup truck? Mr.
Correct, and that
Mankovich?
is replacing, I had it written down, that's 2006.
How many mowers are we talking that he flips around? How many? Just-
4 plus
just-
the Gator,
Okay, 4 plus a Gator,
yep,
just so it's on record
yep.
what we're dealing with. Okay. Any questions for the cemetery department? General services, a new grade all street sweeper, $330,832.52. Building maintenance, street fund, $30,000. Building maintenance sanitation fund, $30,000. Can you explain those?
Sure. Like there, he wants to put siding on the, if anybody's been down there, on the weigh station building that has the scales. He'd like to put new siding on that. And then, and I was down there approximately 2 weeks ago. General Services second floor. If anybody's ever been up there, it's got the old 12 by 12 tile in a lot of the bathrooms. And it's actually, the carpet, it has a bunch of the stored box and stuff in there, just musty, and I think that carpet. So Ray would like to, again, 15,000 out of the street fund, 15 out of the sanitation fund, and side the one building, and then come up there and replace the flooring in the second floor at General Services.
Okay. Some cosmetic, and it's not just cosmetic, it's needed to,
Yes.
just to up,
Yeah, it is.
bring it back up.
But, and if any, please, everybody go down to General Services, go up in that second floor. You would be amazed.
Yeah.
That building with the old Briar's Garage being down there, it hasn't changed much, the upstairs.
Okay. Master capital, airport master capital, go back, that's $390,832.52 for the general services. Airport master capital projects, parallel taxiway, a shift construction, FAA grant, total match, $2,892,132.50. Local match of that is $144,697.50. The other item is terminal building improvements FFA grant fund, $120,000, local matching fund, $6,000. For that project, $114,000. It looks like we get real close to $3 million, and we have to put in $150,000. Is that
Correct.
what you have about, true?
Yeah,
And
on
then-
those two, yes.
Yeah, and then you have the
And
fuel
that-
management
go ahead.
system for $35,000.
Yes.
So,
And if anybody'd like me to, I could speak to either one of those.
I'm okay with them. Does any of the members of council have any questions?
Yeah, can he just go ahead and say
Yes,
what
yes,
he?
yeah, that, no problem. We
Thank
have
you.
plenty of time. Ronnie, Mrs. Ramos will
Oh, sure.
explain the two different
Um,
projects.
The parallel taxiway shift construction, that was in this year's budget. There's still some design engineering, so it is approved in the 2023 budget. It's just a carryover. Again, I believe I said this last year, if you look at the total project cost, which was $2.9 million, and funded for about 5% of that. It's much needed. Again, it's, what's happening is the taxiways are beside each other, and there's some issues there of running into folks and that type of thing, so we have to shift those a little bit for safety. In the terminal building also, if anybody's been in there, each and every one of us to go down there also, it looks the same as it did probably 40 years ago. And again, all grant money, but they're asking us to pitch in about 3%, or a little more than 3%. It's $120,000 worth of work for $6,000. Again, upgrades that have been needed there. There's a water issue. You come in from the runway side, come into the sliding doors. It was kind of sloped wrong. That needs to be pulled out and probably new doors put in. So again, just FAA grant, and it's called bill funds. And excuse me, but I don't remember what the bill stands for, BIL, but again, it's just money that's there for us. And for them to ask for $6,000 for $120,000 worth of work is a yes every day. And then the grant admin goes to Michael Baker, which is our consultant through them, our engineer, which they've been here as long as I have, as far as with me. They was here before me. They're great at what they do. And the fuel management system, that fuel management system, I don't know how much money we have put into that year after year, finding an air gap and different things in that thing. And we've had, I mean, I can't tell you how many times we've been down there, cambered it, and try to find out where it's coming from. We went down and dug before and tried to find out where it's coming from. Long story short, you have a pilot come in there at 2 a.m. and can't get fuel. And no way to get fuel because it's vapor locked or can't run and can't get fuel. So, just trying to rectify that. I know that, you know, it looks like, you know, the money that's being asked for looks like to be a large number, but if you compare it to the overall thing, it's really not. It's doable. Again, the taxiway was in there this year, wasn't able to get it done. Terminal building, $120,000 worth of stuff for $6,000. The grant admin's no different than any engineering we take care of on a daily basis, whether it's whoever it may be. This is just Michael Baker, and that's to do that project. And then the fuel management system, like I say, we've had a few times that's happened, and it's happening more frequently with the fuel system. So we would like to do it and wash our hands with it. I see it's a big chunk, but boy, would that sure be nice.
Yeah.
To it. And I know it'd be nice on Eric, because he's probably the one, I know he gets the calls at 3 a.m. when there's no fuel, no jet fuel coming out, and somebody needs to be somewhere. So, that's what those four particular line items are for.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, Mr. Holland.
Mr. McAveer?
Yes, sir.
On the taxiway, does that close in that north side taxi where there's a gap and the taxiway does not continue?
Say that again, Mr. Holland, I'm sorry.
On the north side taxiway,
Okay,
closest to the apron,
okay.
there's a taxiway that stops with a huge gap in it that was never filled in. Will this fill that in?
I don't wanna say, Dean, would you stop up sometime, we'll look at the preliminary stuff, cause I don't wanna say I've been on that, looked at more on that east end, I don't know about that gap, I'm sure, I don't wanna say, Dean, please stop up and see me.
Well, I know we've got planes that have actually run off of the
Yes.
end of the taxiway.
Yes.
Right.
And we had talked about lighting, we had also applied with FAA for grants, to fill that gap in.
I believe it does, but I don't wanna say
Yeah, I
100%.
believe it does, too.
I believe it does, but let me check it, how about I get back with you on it?
Okay, on the fuel management system.
Yes, sir.
Will that take care of that vent
Yes.
problem?
Yes,
Thank you.
yes.
Okay, that's everything that I have, except from what I had from last year and what I've received from the mayor. 25,000 for the new Philly schools and you for the tennis courts? Is that
Oh,
part?
yeah, for, resurfacing the tennis courts.
Okay, and that's, I
That's a
think,
maintenance.
I think it's a maintenance, I think it's all it is.
Maintenance
It's you're in a partnership to keep it upgraded so we don't have a huge expense at one
Correct.
time, okay?
So does that go into a fund when we need it?
I think they do the maintenance on it, right? Or is it just being put away for the maintenance?
No, that'd be done this next year.
Okay, I
yeah.
think they both put it, they do every, the 3 years is what you guys been doing?
Well, when we do those,
I can't,
5 years.
it's been
It's
5 years?
5
Okay.
years, 5 years. So we're not setting anything back every 5 years, we'll
You
be
just
asking
put,
for,
instead of put 5,000 each year, you put 25 every 5 years.
yes,
In the school, New Philly City Schools is they're doing it 50/50,
correct,
right?
correct.
I also had down restrooms by the pickleball and tennis courts, 180,000.
No. Because that,
Nobody knows this year.
we're gonna try, the RFQs finish out Friday for that job. So I'm not sure about that.
These are things we talked about last year's budget that we were looking at look ahead for.
Oh, okay.
So I wrote them
it's-
down.
Okay,
I
so
wrote
but it's
everything
not
down.
in, is it in
No, it's,
the,
nothing's wrote down.
Okay,
on the
okay.
I just was asking, is it needed to be put anywhere? Is it been
No.
thought about? Okay. I also had, the second part of the Field One project, the $50,000 there. And then I have the thing I just received from you today from RTY.
RTY.
And I have not had time to, I skimmed real fast on it, Mayor, but I did not look. I didn't know if you needed time to review with your superintendent and service director.
Well, yeah, I could talk to to Rod, the Parks Director,
Yeah,
about that.
you know what I mean,
Yeah.
because I don't know,
Because,
it's dated the 18th, but I don't know how
yeah,
long you
they
really have
they
it.
would like to have 25,000 yet this year, and then another 25,000 next year.
Okay. Again, I just skimmed on it very quickly. I did not.
Yeah, but, yeah, Superintendent Miller and I will
Okay, that's fine.
Get
I
together.
just, because when you total it all up, it's a sizable sum of money.
Yes.
Yeah, so I didn't know how, so do you want me to put 25 on the budget, or do you want to wait?
Well, yeah, let's wait till we have the discussion,
Okay,
yeah.
I just want to make sure the council gets to hear the items that are all there. And then I have, that you attached to the other items that came from capital improvement, which 52, I think that's where the 5,200, 437s. 437, 7,700, 5,204, and yeah, we'll go 5,204s. I'm pretty sure that's where all the master capital part you take it from. You had the 2 dump trucks, no trucks were purchased, and I think
Oh.
Ron's already explained that.
Right.
Then you had the new roof for the office, swimming pool buildings included, gutters and leaf guard. And you had resurface, I think there's where the 25,000 resurfacing of the tennis courts.
there it is.
I had it 2 different places.
Yeah.
So there it is. And then I had the second part of the ball field. Is that all 437, 7,700, 5,204s?
Right,
Okay,
yeah.
all right. Did all council members get a copy of the RTY? Okay. All right. So that's the list of projects I have, unless there's any questions?
Just a quick one, kind of, since we're on the same subject, is there plans, you think, for the main restroom area? I know we were talking about the other one by the pickleball, but I know the one, that one.
In the swimming
kinda-
pool?
Yeah,
In the swimming pool area?
I know we've talked about it for several years.
Yeah, definitely needs done. I don't think we plan to do it next year.
No, we didn't. It definitely needs done. I agree.
It's something that we'll
If, I'll be at your will. You give me the money, I'll get it done.
Well, I hate to break this meeting up and stuff, but it's not kind of off point.
No, you're not off point at all.
But it's just, I mean, if
agree with
anybody,
you.
I'm sure everybody on council's been to that bathroom, it's just, I mean, for such a beautiful park.
I couldn't agree with you more,
I
and
mean, I know they do the best they can with what they got there.
and I'm gonna be honest with you, I 100% forgot about it.
Yeah.
And if he'd like to get it, I can get it done.
Well, I mean, at least give us a number that we
Yeah, I
can
was
look
gonna say,
at.
why don't you
Okay.
give a cost?
Yeah, find out.
Okay.
Or get like a
And
plan.
I did have one other thing for the South Side Community Park over there. There was talk of pickleball courts possibly being put over there. Is there any movement on that?
Not at this.
Nothing
point,
yet at this time?
Mr. Chairman,
Okay.
it's, the biggest concern there is finishing the road.
The road
And then
end?
putting in the youth soccer fields.
Okay,
Concession
Yeah.
stands, restrooms.
and that's in partnership with the youth
Soccer
soccer?
association.
Yeah,
Right.
association, yes.
Right.
I do like to mention when we have partnerships, because I think that's a real plus to our community, that our community members are working together with our city and with the schools too. I like when that's done, and I think that needs to be publicized more than it's always the city paying or it's always the school paying. There's common
Yeah.
citizens going out raising money, which the city and school benefit from.
Right, we always try to partner where we can.
Yeah. Okay, does anybody have any questions for any of the items we discussed this evening? Okay. Would we like to make a motion that the law director draws up the legislation for a temporary budget with due note that those projects will be added to the temporary budget, with the only outstanding thing is that Mr. Popham will find out from the police chief if there's any equipment needed for that vehicle that would be added. And do we want to wait to get for the restrooms at the park, main side?
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about restrooms.
Can
I
you
think
get a
that should be-
budget number, Ronnie, for that we could possibly put something over there? It may not be the exact.
Well, I sure could try.
I mean, it's just gotta be right for 2 weeks when the legislation's here that we can
Yeah,
vote.
we won't have that for temporary, I mean, I would probably,
Well, do you wanna
I
put,
wouldn't plan on for temporary.
okay, then we don't wanna add that. The only thing we need
we'd
then,
have to study it, and I mean,
Yeah,
it's gonna be a big cost.
Yeah, it's gonna be, yeah, that's,
do you wanna put in there for the study for it?
no, I can
You
take
have
care of
enough?
that on my, I can take that out of my engineering
Okay,
and look at it, and then, what we could do in the temporary is see that number and then come back and let's go from there.
cause I believe those restrooms are a disgrace.
Yeah,
They're a black eye to our,
Yeah.
as a city. I mean,
Yes.
those are one things that I think that we need to have
Everything
restrooms.
else is so beautiful
Yeah.
there.
yeah.
And again, those, they need to be addressed and upkeep. Yes, Mrs. Ramos?
Just a quick question.
Yes.
Why are we going with a half year for temporary appropriations instead of like the first quarter?
The auditor thought that would be wiser, since we're having the 3 new council members coming in. It would be easier that she would not have to try to get 3 months and then add another 3 months, just do 6 months.
We still have to have it
At the-
passed after 3 months anyway,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah,
You still have to have a permanent passed by March
March
31st.
31st, right.
Half or so, the last several times we've done temporaries has been what that was.
and it gives her a little extra money in case in that first 3 months it would go over. She
would
wouldn't
go
have to
down
come
the
back
wire.
If we have
to up the
encumber something,
temporaries.
You know,
So it makes it easier on her. You're basically making it easier for her, that she doesn't have to worry about getting tight on a line item here or there and then come back and have to ask for more money for a temporary.
And Mr. Chairman, I believe, and I don't know, I'd ask that Beth, but doesn't Mooney Court always want 100% of it up front?
oh, absolutely.
Oh, absolutely.
So just bear that in mind, I guess.
Yeah,
council
they
members.
want their money
Yeah.
in the,
They get it
there's no
from-
temporary for
They
them.
get it right off the rip,
Yeah.
January 1, so
Yeah. She wants her money total.
just bear that in mind.
So I'd like to make a motion, have the law director draw up the legislation as we discussed this evening. If you need me to get with you to go over each one of these, with the correction of the park and recreation of 16,500, not 165,000.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah,
Wait, Mr. Chairman, maybe you leave it at that, and that gives me the 149 to go out and do the restrooms.
I'm not against that. I am
The
not
restrooms
against,
would be
I
more
am
than
not
that.
against the restrooms getting
I don't know if that'll put a dent.
fixed either side.
could
Let's do
start-
our homework on it first.
That might
What,
add a couple
what
euros or
line was
something.
that too high in? I missed that.
Which one?
For the park.
Just a
That
second.
was in,
Master Capital or there?
I just put it back away. There you go. It's the park, it is line item 101, 3,100, 5, 5,200.
5,200, yep. Yep.
Because I want this all to be.
I only have 58,000 in there
So
total.
they can actually see the line.
Maybe it got
item in one,
corrected
So
then.
the new people can understand.
Oh, it did, because he had another sheet that had
Mine will just say,
the,
mine will just say attached.
Right,
the
detached, but I just want to make sure
mower,
it's
the
typed right.
leaf, and
So
then
you got
that.
the right one.
Yep.
If give us, if you get to me early, I got Beth check it. And have the mayor check it.
Yep,
Okay,
yep,
so
yep.
it's already been corrected. They're saying it's already been.
Yeah.
That's already corrected?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
So I'll make a motion.
Yeah, I made the motion, do you
Oh,
second?
yes, I would
Second.
love to second that.
Okay. The motion on the floor is, have the law director draw up legislation for the temporary budget, have it ready for next meeting, which is November
Hold on a
13th?
second.
6 and 7, 13?
It is
Should be earlier than that.
Should be
It's a
November
week after.
13th,
13th,
right?
November
Yeah.
13th. November 13th, if it's the powers to be to pass it in emergency, or you want to have it one reading, I just know there's going to be a lot of, there's going to be several council members not here the last week, which is Christmas in December. So it's whatever we feel as council, as a body, we can do with the budget, we'll do at that time. So with that, now I'm confused, I'm gonna need some direction from the law director. I started my meeting with Cheryl as the member of my committee. Does she stay the member since my member showed up, came in late?
I think you can do it either way. I would probably do it since Dean's president. I would probably do it with Dean.
Okay, all right, so what we'll do, the motion is to have the law director draw it up, have it ready for the November 13th meeting. I've requested from the law director to have it early, so the mayor, the attachment that shows all the projects will be approved by you, and Beth, also you. So I would like to meet with both of you prior to the 13th, so we're good with all those numbers, okay? I made the motion,
I will second your motion.
and Mrs. May, second it. I'll take a vote. Mrs. May,
Yes.
Mr. Holland,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes also. Is there any other matter to come before the Finance Committee? Mr. Holland?
Yeah, since the auditor's here today, we could get an answer to the question that I posed. On April the 9th of 2007, there was a resolution created, that created a new fund for fire equipment capital. July the 22nd of 2013, that resolution was repealed and the funds were placed in the general fund. April of 2016, that account was restored. One, why did all that take place? And do you have any idea of the amount of funds that were put in the general fund and then the amount of funds that were put back into this fire equipment capital fund?
No, I don't know how much went into the general fund instead of fire capital for those years. I'd have to look that up if I could even find that anymore. Nothing would have been put back into Fund 420. It was just reopened, so to speak, so that it would receive the money from the townships and the fire department would spend it on equipment.
So none of the
So for-
funding that was taken out of that fund and put into the general fund went into this account.
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay, any other things for the Finance Committee? Hearing none, I take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Mr. Holland, we adjourn the meeting at 7:14 PM.
This meeting of New Philadelphia City Council will come to order. Would you please rise, remain standing for the invocation and pledge of allegiance? Mr. Holland.
Let's pray. Dear God, we thank you so for the opportunity to serve this community and serve this community in your name. Dear Lord, we have so many significant decisions to make, and we pray for your guidance. We pray for knowledge, that we would make the right decisions, those that are fair and honest, those that truly represent our community and each and every citizen. Father God, we pray for all of those who are working for this community, that represent every aspect of what we consider in our budget, of what we consider as services to the community. Guide us, Lord, as we make those decisions. We thank you, dear God, for your provision. We thank you, blessed Savior, for watching over and caring for us. We pray these things, dear God, in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. I'd like to welcome everybody here to our city council meeting and also those who are watching by streaming. We'll start off with roll call.
Mr. Holland.
Present.
Mr. Lanzer.
Present.
Mrs. May.
Present.
Mr. Pace.
Present.
Mrs. Ramos.
Here.
Mr. Ricklick.
Present.
Mr. Rippet.
Present?
All right, everybody's here, that's great. All right, everybody's had a chance to review the agenda. Do we have any additions to the agenda tonight? Mr. Ricklick.
Mr. President, I would like to add ordinance 24, 2023 to the agenda this evening.
Do I have a second? Mrs. May, thank you. In discussion by administration, council, roll call.
Mr. Ricklick.
Yes.
Mrs. May.
Yes.
Mr. Holland.
Yes.
Mr. Lanzer.
Yes.
Mr. Pace.
Yes.
Mrs. Ramos.
Yes.
Mr. Rippet.
Yes.
Right, any other additions to the agenda tonight? Hearing none, I'd accept a motion to accept the agenda with the addition.
So moved.
All right,
Second.
all right, thank you. With first and second, discussion by administration, council, roll call.
Mr. Rippet.
Yes.
Mrs. Ramos.
Yes.
Mr. Holland.
Yes.
Mr. Lanzer.
Yes.
Mrs. May.
Yes.
Mr. Pace.
Yes.
All right, agenda has been approved.
Mr. Ricklick says yes, too.
Okay. Oh, did I not?
We thought you were
It's
still in
okay.
Ireland. All right. Everybody's also had a chance to review the minutes from our last council meeting. Is there any additions or corrections? Here now, accept the motion to approve. Mr. Lanzer, need a second. Mrs. May, thank you. In discussion by administration, council, roll call.
Mr. Lanzer.
Yes.
Mrs. May.
Yes.
Mr. Holland.
Yes.
Mr. Pace.
Yes.
Mrs. Ramos.
Yes.
Mr. Ricklick.
Abstain.
Mr. Rippet.
Yes.
All right, minutes have been approved. Correspondence, Ms. Courtright.
To Council Clerk from Treasurer Gerber, this is dated October 10th, 2023. This is an updated investment and savings report for September of 2023. To council members from Mayor Day dated October 19th, 2023. This is an email titled Budget Requests from RTA Incorporated to maintain the rides at Tuscarora Park. To President Kemp from Law Director Fay dated October 21st, 2023. This is an email titled, Please assign to Dan Lanzer's committee with Resolution 19-2023 as the attachment. President Kemp asked Mr. Lanzer to take the issue into the Public Works and Economic Development Committee. To Council and Administration from Mayor Day dated October 23rd, 2023. This is the mayor's report, and that concludes correspondence for this evening, Mr. President.
All right, thank you, Ms. Courtright. We're moving to our administrative reports. Mayor Day.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll go to the podium because I have a presentation to make at the end of my report. First off, from the report that I sent to you earlier today, I wanted to talk about the cost of repair and maintenance of the rides at Tuscarora Park. That cost continues to rise. As a result, I received a letter from RTY Incorporated and forwarded copies to you, asking the cities to create an expense line in the Parks Department budget that would earmark $25,000 this year and in 2024 for ride maintenance and improvements. Since Tyler's Law was implemented in 2021, RTY's expense to keep the amusement rides in compliance has more than doubled. Its cost in 2022 was $25,697, over $18,000 more than it paid before the law was enacted. The letter states, quote, "Until recent times, profits from rides and miniature golf ticket sales were sufficient to pay for most preventative maintenance and repair to the rides. But escalating operating expenses, especially wages and ride maintenance repair costs, have reduced net profits and in recent years even resulted in operating losses. So I'm asking council to give serious consideration to this request from RTY. As it stated in its letter, quote, "Without some assistance, these rising expenses could push RTY out of business when the money is exhausted," and we don't want that to happen. Also a reminder for not only council, everyone here, but also those of you watching from home, this coming Saturday from 6 until 8 p.m. is the city's annual trick-or-treat night. If you want the ghosts and goblins to come to your door for treats, just put your porch light on. And also keep an extra eye out for kids and adults who will be crossing the streets. City police will be patrolling the neighborhoods, so don't hesitate to ask them if you need their assistance. Finally, Young Marines of the Marine Corps League is joining National Family Partnership in sponsoring the annual Red Ribbon campaign to raise awareness of the harm done to families and communities by the selling and use of illicit drugs. This week has been designated as National Red Ribbon Week across the United States. At this time, I'd like to ask Chris Osborne, the city's Assistant Water and Sewer Department Superintendent. Where are you, Chris? And also a representative of the Young Marines to come to the podium here. I'd like to present them with a proclamation that declares this week as Red Ribbon Week in New Philadelphia. And I'll read the proclamation. So, gentlemen, if you come over here. There you go. This is from the Office of the Mayor. Whereas communities across America have been plagued by the numerous problems associated with illicit drug use and those that traffic in them. And whereas there is hope in winning the war on drugs, and that hope lies in education and drug demand reduction, coupled with the hard work and determination of organizations such as the Young Marines of the Marine Corps League to foster a healthy, drug-free lifestyle. And whereas governments and community leaders know that citizen support is one of the most effective tools in the effort to reduce the use of illicit drugs in our communities. And whereas the red ribbon has been chosen as a symbol commemorating the work of Enrique Kiki Camarena, a Drug Enforcement Administration agent who was murdered in the line of duty, and represents the belief that one person can make a difference. And whereas the Red Ribbon Campaign was established by Congress in 1988 to encourage a drug-free lifestyle and involvement in drug prevention and reduction efforts. And whereas October 23rd through the 31st has been designated National Red Ribbon Week, which encourages Americans to wear a red ribbon to show their support for a drug-free environment. Now therefore, I, Joel Beam Day, the mayor of the city of New Philadelphia, do hereby proclaim October 23rd through the 31st as Red Ribbon Week in the city of New Philadelphia, and urge all residents to join me in this special observance. Gentlemen, I present this to you, and thank you for your service. Thank you, sir. And for your promotion. Okay, well, can you introduce the Young Marine?
This is Young Marine Gunnery Sergeant Osborne. He's one of our senior Young Marines.
That's okay.
Typical Marine.
Thank you very much. That concludes my report. Any questions?
Young man, thank you for your service. From one veteran to another, thank you.
I had a question.
Yes, Mrs. Ramos.
Could you explain, why or what Tyler's Law is and why that's increased?
Yeah,
the
it
cost of-
mandates safety, equipment and procedures for amusement rides. I don't know what Tyler's last name was, I don't recall, but he was killed on an amusement ride accident, and from that tragedy came a law that mandated better safety features on amusement rides.
And they have to have more, do they have to have more inspections?
More inspections, yes. In some cases, special equipment.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, just look at our merry-go-round. What they had to do they had to make it compliance.
Right.
Any other questions? Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mayor Day. We'll move on to Service Director, Mr. McAbeer. Some words of wisdom for us.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening, everyone. Which I believe everyone here knows, because it was a great day, was last Thursday, the 19th, Mill Avenue had opened up. And I want to go over how we reached that milestone here, because it was. Franklin Square Phase 1 is complete as far as the pipe, all the base material that they had to put in, and the top coat that went in up to those 2 points. They have some restoration work to do yet. They have to bring some material back onto where they paved, especially on like Bank Lane area, and some still on Mill Avenue, some of that area that they needed to do. And that also what we needed to have done there was the Small Cities paving. They held off on that piece because of that project. So what had happened there was in the construction zone for Phase 1 was, the easiest way to say it is going south underneath the bridge, probably about 35 feet was the construction site. And then going the other way, they was all the way up to Bank Lane, and they headed east probably about 75 feet to make that connection. So what they did was they had their pavement stopped there. Shelley Company had come to those guys, met up, have two pretty decent marriage points there. It's actually turned out better than I thought it would. Again, so that's why Mill Avenue is open, because the paving is complete. Shelley still has 4 loops to put in for us, which is vehicular loops that are cutting the road. They still need those. Now she needs some striping and some lane delineations there for painting that needs to be done. Steve believes that'll be done tomorrow or Wednesday because of the nice days we have left. So again, once that's done, that project will be out of here, and then we'll finish up also, hopefully in the next council meeting, we should have a walkthrough on both those projects and close both of those out. Also, quick reminder that the docks were removed last week from the Waterworks ball field, and also down at the Carlisle on 416. Both of those have been removed, and we'll put them back in like we always do in the spring of 24. And like I had talked about during the appropriations for the Al Maloney restroom, request for quotes closes out on Friday. I'm sure next week, I believe, I want to say the 3rd, so I believe that's that Friday, we'll go through them and hopefully pick a contractor out of that and get that project moving. We'd like to get that moving I think we have a date, 12th or 15th, but I'm not exactly sure, but November 12th or 15th. I'd like to award it the 6th and have them start 12th or 15th, depending on schedule. But again, those are supposed to be in by Friday. We'll have a good feel after that. I'll be able to report on that also at the next council meeting. Also, if anybody had noticed there, Ray Gruel from the General Service Department had put out a press release. Next week will be leaf pickup. They'll start that, I believe, on his, Oh, on his note, he had North Broadway, South Broadway, typical East High, West High, 4th Street, and then Central Business, and then start to disperse out. And I'll be able to give an update as we move through town. And naturally, a lot of these areas, as we all see, not a lot of leaves are down. We'll be back a second time, so bear with us. But again, we're gonna go down through there. East High usually gives us enough to keep us going pretty good until the biggest majority of them starts falling. But again, the press release went out. He has North Broadway, South Broadway, 4th Street, Northwest, 4th Street, Southwest, and then he'll go down East High and West High. Again, I'll be able to update those at the next council meeting. That's the end of my report.
Any questions for Mr. McAbeer? Yes, Mr. Rickley.
Mr. Rapper, do we have a lot of interest in the restroom project? Do you have a lot of quotes?
We sent it out to 4 people.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right,
yep.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? All right, thank you, Mr. McAbeer. Safety Director, Mr. Popham.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening, everyone. Last meeting, I reported that we had a vacancy in the police department again. Effective today, we no longer have a vacancy. So we currently have a clerk in the police department.
All right.
And that's all I have for now. Thank you.
Any question for Mr. Popham? All right, Auditor, Mrs. Gundy.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening, everyone. Today I received the retirement letter from our income tax administrator, Vicki Daniels. She's leaving 12/31 of this year, so I will be looking for a new income tax administrator. And that's all I have.
How many years has Vicki got? How many years has she been?
She's been in 7 there, so I don't know how many total.
Yeah. A lot. All right. Treasury report, Mr. Gerber.
No report, sir.
All right, thank you. Law Director, Mr. Fate.
Thanks, Mr. President. Tonight you often hear me talk about the civil aspect of what I do in the job and things that I do related to council. What you don't hear is that's half my job. The other half of my job is the prosecution. And tonight I thought I'd give you a little insight into some of the things we're doing as far as prosecutions are going on. One of the things I recently did is I'm taking a case up on appeal that we lost on what's called a suppression issue. This was an OVI case. It's rare that we would take an OVI case up on appeal. A suppression is when the defense attorney files a motion to suppress on the basis that there was either an illegal stop or something was done illegally or improperly by the police during the stop or the course of the investigation. Because if you can get the stop thrown out, then everything else is gone too. In this case, the trooper stopped the defendant because he didn't have a license plate light. And once he made contact, it was clear that the gentleman was under the influence. There was the odor of alcohol, slurred speech, things of that nature. The defense attorney filed to suppress on the basis that that wasn't sufficient for a stop and that had people testify that they saw that his license plate light was working. And the judge ruled that because after the stop, the officer didn't walk around to make sure that the license plate light was working, that he didn't do his job. Well, from my perspective, that's irrelevant because the stop has already been initiated, so either the stop's valid or it's not valid. The officer doesn't have a duty to make sure that the license plate wasn't working. In fact, that would go against all safety protocols because once he's ascertained that that individual is under the influence, he can't then leave and go check out the guy's vehicle and leave this guy in control of the vehicle. If this was somebody that was 50 or 60 years old that didn't have a history of this, we might not be taking it up on appeal. But this is somebody that has 5 lifetime DUIs, and to me, is considered a danger. Statistics show that if you are, if you get an OVI, the odds are, the statistics show that you've driven multiple times under the influence and just happen to get caught. If you've got 5, you've got a serious problem. You're drinking and driving all the time, and that's somebody that shouldn't be on the road because they're a danger to my family, your family, and all of us. So that's one that we're taking up on appeal that I've authorized and started that process. And I feel fairly confident that we will have that thrown out at the 5th district, then it will be brought back so that we can proceed on the regular OPI. But I just wanted to give you a little insight as to what we do as far as the criminal thing. So I'm always talking about what I'm doing in the civil and related to council. And I thought you would appreciate getting some insight into some of the things we're doing in the criminal aspect. We prosecute over 3,500 criminal cases a year, and that's more than anybody else in the entire county does. That's because we prosecute not just for the city of New Philadelphia, but the 13 surrounding townships that municipal court handles. By way of comparison, the county prosecutors are prosecuting about 400 cases a year. And so we've got a very heavy caseload and a very active caseload. And I just thought I'd give you some insights into that and talk about some important things that we're doing there. And everybody in there is doing a fantastic job. We've got the victim advocate, which I can't thank council enough for authorizing that. Municipal court has been here since the 1970s. We didn't have a victim advocate until I brought one in. And that's a crime victim advocate that meets with our crime victims. That's crucial to people in domestic violence situations and getting them the help we need. So I've got a fantastic team, and I can't say enough good about them, as well as the victim advocate. And just wanted to give you a little insight, give them a little credit for all the great things that they're doing. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to take them.
In regard to the case that you cited, from a curiosity standpoint, will you be able to bring up that individual's history?
That would be irrelevant. The only thing that's relevant is whether or not there was a valid stop. And I think where we're gonna win on that is that the judge was asking him to go the extra mile, which was completely irrelevant because the stop had already been initiated to indicate that he had to take the extra step to go around and make sure that one wasn't working, is what the case is gonna turn on.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions? All right, thanks, Marvin. All right, we move into our board commission reports. Planning Commission, Mayor Day.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Planning Commission will be meeting the second Tuesday of November. And let me look here quickly.
Election day.
14th, the 14th, thank you, Mr. McAfee. And we'll be reviewing some of the points raised by the presentation by Wendy Mueller from Compass Point Planning this past week about our zoning revisions.
All right. Should be a good meeting.
Yep.
All right, Board of Zoning Appeals, Mr. McAbear.
Thank you, Mr. President. Board of Zoning Appeals met here in council chambers October the 10th at 5 p.m. with 2 variance requests to be heard. The first one was the property address 352 St. Clair Southwest in violation of 1161.05 A and C. That was brought to vote, and it was granted with a 5-0 to grant that request for that variance. Also, property address 1276 Lakeview Road Northwest, which is in violation of 1161.05 D, which is a corner setback, just to let everybody know on that one. And that was brought to vote, and it was declined on a 5-0 vote. And that was the end of the meeting and end of my report.
All right, any question for Mr. McAbear?
Don't-
Yes, Mrs. Ramos, yes.
I was wondering, we get like a paper copy of what's coming up in our box, and I was wondering if John and Lee could just email us
I can
that
ask her.
instead of a
Sure,
paper copy?
sure.
Thank you.
Does everybody want it, is everybody okay with that?
Oh, yes, much better.
Okay. I will do that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, Airport Commission. Oh, Mr. Rickard, yeah, question, yes.
Hey, Ronnie, would you mind putting the violation or what they're appealing when you do that? I know you put the number in the letter. Could you just put a little brief thing, setback?
Okay.
Signage, whatever it would be.
Yeah, usually it's signage, but yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Or we get this like we had this time, like each one of those was 1161.05. First one was A and C, which one's on front setback, and then the 1165 just D.
Just a setback. I
Yep.
mean, just a couple words in it, so it's
Yeah,
real
I can give
simple
a-
to know.
Yeah, I
It's
can give
not
a high level.
No, it's
what is
not a
that?
high level thing, that's.
Yeah, yep, I can do that.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, Mr. Alonso, now you can speak.
All right, the Airport Commission will be meeting November 14th here in council chambers at 6 PM.
All right. Park Board, Mr. Pace.
Thank you, Mr. President. No report this evening.
All right. Health Board, Mr. Holland.
Thank
Good to
Mr.
have you
President.
back, by the way.
Thank you, it's good to be back.
Speak for yourself, Mr.
Oh,
President.
okay.
Take it outside, guys.
It'll be a long night, isn't it? In regard to COVID, 2 weeks ago, there was an outbreak here in New Philadelphia that resulted in 41 new COVID cases that were reported to the health department. There were no hospitalizations. And then last week, there were 20 new cases reported to the health department, and 15 of those occurred this last weekend. Now, the health department is working on the new Moderna bivalent vaccine, and it's on order, but the orders are being received very sporadically. Most of the product that's being produced by the manufacturers is being sent to the pharmacies. As I reported on previously several times, the health department's been working on the public health accreditation for our health department. And the first public health accreditation board visit is scheduled for November the 2nd, and that will be a virtual visit. The second visit is scheduled for November the 30th, and that will be an in-person visit. We have provided all of the information requested by the accreditation board, and just going through the process has been very lengthy, and I think we're probably still several months away for getting an answer to our request. Flu shots are available in the health department. Please call for an appointment for children, and walk-in is available for adults in the health department here at City Hall. And then everyone's been provided with the health department's strategic plan, a copy of that. And the health board has approved that 2024 through 2027 strategic plan. The plan sets out the health department mission, the health department's vision for health services, and core values. I think once you read it, you'll see that it's rather detailed and well thought out. If you have any questions at all, contact Health Commissioner Iono in the Health Department. The next Health Board meeting is November the 15th here in Council Chambers at 12 noon. That concludes my report.
Is the pneumonia shot also available? The pneumonia shot?
I'm sure that it is, but
Okay.
The Health Commissioner did not give me that
Okay.
information.
Any questions for Mr. Holland? All right, move into our council committee reports. Finance, Mr. Ricklick.
Thank you, Mr. President. This evening, the Finance Committee met at 6:30 PM in council chambers. We had two items on the agenda for this evening. Ordinance 24, 2023 pertain to making adjustments to the 2023 appropriation budget. It was heard and added that the auditor recommended we pass as an emergency at this evening. Committee approved that 3-0 to go to the full body. The second item was the temporary budget for 2024. We basically reviewed all the projects, so they would be in the temporary part of the budget. The rest of the temporary budget would be half of what the normal budget would be. It will be brought up and presented at November 13th council meeting to see if we can get it passed before the end of the year so we don't have any special meetings. That also passed 3-0 in the committee to go to the floor. Motion for the meeting to adjourn was at 7:14 p.m. That's the end of my report.
All right, any questions for Mr. Ricklake? Now we'll move on to Public Works and Economic Development. Mr. Lancer.
Thank you, Mr. President. No report this evening.
All right, Safety, Health, and Service, Mr. Holland.
Thank you, Mr. President. No report this evening.
Zoning and Annexation, Mrs. Ramos.
Thank you, Mr. President, no report.
Salary, Mrs. May.
Thank you, Mr. President. No report this evening.
All right. Cemetery, Mr. Pace.
Thank you, Mr. President. No report this evening.
All right, Special Contact, Mr. Rippeth.
Thank you, Mr. President. No report tonight.
All right. Visitors' comments. The floor is now open for visitors' comments. Anyone wishing to address council should rise. State your name and address, and address all comments to the chair. You will be given 5 minutes. Does anyone wish to address council this evening? Hearing none, we'll move into council comments. Any council member with comments this evening? Mrs. Ramos.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to give my time to Mary Marshall, RN, nurse manager at Eva Women's Clinic, right here in New Philly. They just opened up in January of this year, and I'm excited to have her to tell us about services that we have available in our community.
Let's get the screen down and get it ready for you.
Do we need this screen? Yeah. Okay.
So this is just a 1.5-minute video, so just you can actually see where we're located, where Eva Women's Clinic is located, and just what it looks like and how you can find us.
It'll take longer for us to turn it on.
Just
so you know.
Just record?
Don't think it's you.
The mic, it just records.
Okay.
There you go.
I have the right one.
So go ahead and speak up, Mary, because the mic just records.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
Are we ready?
Not quite yet.
Maybe about 8:30.
It's always tricky.
There it goes.
It's turning on.
Well, I can start I can start talking a little bit too while that gets ready.
Turn the lights on.
He's getting it.
There we go.
Ah, never mind. The old Marine Midland Bank or Belmont Bank.
When my nest became empty, I decided that it was time to get more involved, and a position was open. So I've been on staff here about 3 years. My job is to walk them through the process that they came here for, through the pregnancy test, through the ultrasound, and through processing all that information and helping them get a grip on the decision before them.
So that is just a little bit, the highlights about EVA Women's Clinic. We opened here in New Philadelphia in January of this year. We joined EVA Canton and EVA Akron, who have been around several years. I can't give an exact. I know Canton's been close to 5 years. And what we want to offer, as you see, all our services are offered at no cost to anybody. It really is regardless of income level, any woman. And we want to be that first stop for a woman facing an unplanned pregnancy. We want to help her feel supported, encouraged, know what her options are, know what her resources are, and to feel safe and not judged. We do not perform or refer for abortions, but we do that initial pregnancy testing. And with that ultrasound screening, we can get accurate dating. We confirm a pregnancy, get accurate dating, and determine viability. Because up to 30% of pregnancies can end in miscarriage. So we can offer that, that knowledge. We do have medical supervision. We have 2 medical directors. Philip Teague is our medical director, and Dr. Brando is in Canton area. I think it's Michael, I forget his first name. We also have a radiologist, Dr. Sunderland, who reads our scans and gives us, so we're not interpreting them ourselves. We do have medical oversight. So we do also provide services to minors. We don't do an ultrasound on any minor without parental consent, but depending on the age, we can do, if they're 15 to 17, we can do pregnancy testing and STD testing without parental consent. On anything younger than that 15, they have to have a parent with them. So yeah, that is, I think that covers everything. We do offer our advocates, as you heard, Tisa, she's one of our Canton advocates, but we do offer that connection to resources. What do you need? We connect to Access Tusk, Bridges to Wellness, Birthright, WIC. If they need the victims, the crime victims unit connection. So we've tried to make as many connections in the community as we can. If you know of someone who would benefit from coming and having a chat with us or touring our place, just have them reach out to me and get in touch with me. You have my card and flyer. So we just are looking to support and inform and encourage women and families in our communities. And another resource we also send people to or refer people to is grief counseling for either miscarriage or abortion, and that's men and women. So it's a very, very important resource too that we share. Any questions?
You have, also can make referrals or have a connection with parenting classes?
Yes, we, locally here, we refer through Bridges. There are pregnancy and parenting classes offered. We also are in Canton and Akron. If someone either, is that's not too far of a drive for them, or they would want to go there, under the organization that we operate under, Pregnancy Support Network, there are pregnancy and parenting classes offered. So, and those are ongoing, really provide a lot of support for parents going through the pregnancy. So, yeah, and we thought about that being a future thing down here in May as we grow. So, but for the clothes and supplies, Birthright really does a great job of that down here, so we didn't want to duplicate that or compete for resources in that way.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming.
Any other council members with comments? All right, hearing none, we'll move into our legislative agenda.
Ordinance number 19, 2023, an ordinance by the Council of the City of New Philadelphia, Ohio, to amend Ordinance 1141.05 with regards to the definition of recreational vehicles to include all trailers and declaring an emergency. Second reading.
Is there any action taken by council on this ordinance tonight? All right, hearing none, we have our next regularly scheduled council meeting.
Ordinance number 21, 2023, an ordinance authorizing the mayor of the City of New Philadelphia, Ohio, to enter into an agreement with the Tuscarawas County Public Defender's Office for the provision of legal representation for indigents charged with violations of New Philadelphia city ordinances in the municipal court where such offenses carry a possible loss of liberty, establishing compensation and terms thereof, and declaring an emergency. Second reading.
Is there any action taken by council on this ordinance tonight? All right, hearing none, we have our next regularly scheduled council meeting.
Ordinance number 23, 2023, an ordinance by the Council of the City of New Philadelphia, Ohio, to enact salary rate increases for designated non-bargaining unit employees and elected officials for 2024, 2025, and 2026 in accordance with the attached non-bargaining worksheet as listed therein and subject to the terms and conditions listed therein and declaring an emergency. Third reading.
Is there any action taken by council on this ordinance tonight? Yes, Mr. May.
Mr. President, I ask that ordinance 23, 2023 be passed.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Holland, thank you. In discussion by community, council, or administration, council, Mr. Rickick.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to be on record on this ordinance. I've been out, missed the last 3 meetings. Ordinance 2023 is ordinance that's going to increase the budget by $765,000 plus in those 3 years. A 7% increase is not heard of in today's standards. Those are considered promotions. And to do that in 3 years, consecutive years, is, to me, is insanity. That's a 21% increase. 21% in 3 years. There's no basis on these salary increases. There's no evaluations done on any of these employees. There are numbers that I am not sure how was, and I am on the salary committee. I was not part of any of the numbers, how they were arrived. I want to make sure this is all clear on record. It is our responsibility to our citizens to be wise how we spend their money. $765,000 to do a lot of projects. Taking $765,000 out of that budget, there's going to be some increases somewhere. Water bills, sanitation bills. There has to be. The income tax can't support a $750,000 increase over 3 years. I believe this will cripple the city. I believe we're going to leave a mess for the new 3 council members at large that are coming into place. They're going to have to clean it up and fix it and do something with the budget to make it fit. The auditor herself told me the budget can sustain it for 1 year, but the following 2 it cannot. I was elected to represent these taxpayers, and I have heard from them by phone calls and stopping to see me personally. For some reason, they must think I'm the loudmouth and I'll speak up, so I am. It's very hard for me to do this. This is the hardest meeting I've ever had to come to in the city of New Philadelphia. I've lived here almost my whole life. But I know one thing, my heart is a Quaker and a city of New Philadelphia resident. I used to be the water superintendent, and my last thing I ever want to do was shut somebody's water off. I would do anything to keep it on for them. If you don't believe me, you can ask the former mayors and service director and the former law directors. My job is not to shut you off. My job is to help you. I provide services, and city council should think about providing services rather than filling their pocket with $765,000 plus in wages. I'm not against wages, but I am against a 3-year, 21% increase on anybody. So what I would rather see done is my colleagues tonight vote this down and spend more time with the mayor to come up with however he wants to come up with to evaluate these individuals to make the increases on due justice of their performance at work. Again, I said this is the hardest meeting I've ever come to as a council member, and I have to deal with the cats. I want to end this with asking my council members to reconsider, if they are considering to pass it, to come back and come with a more educational and financial increase in wage, which I believe they all deserve. I also believe the ramification from this will be the unions knocking on the doors for the identical amount. And at last, a very wise man that I used to work for, who governed my wages, he always told me, Kelly, and I have a lot of respect for this man. He says, Kelly, pigs get fat and hogs get slaughtered, so watch what you ask for. Thank you very much.
Any other council comments? Mr. Pace?
Thank you, Mr. President. Regarding ordinance 2023, I firmly believe that many of our non-bargaining employees deserve a higher wage. Furthermore, I also believe that a 7% consecutive yearly raise across the board over the next 3 years isn't ideal. A compounding raise such as this is a tough ask from our constituents, given the financial crush that the private sector is currently enduring. This ordinance would be an additional $550,000 in salary costs, which is almost half of what the new rescue truck we just approved. With 3 new members set to take the at-large seats in 2024, I feel like we should consider amending the current ordinance to a one-time 7% increase for 2024, and then exploring our options under the next council. A year-by-year merit-based approach, I think, is the most appropriate move for the council. We must have certainty that the city can incur the proposed increases in 2025 and 2026 calendar years. That's all I have, thank you.
All right. Any other comments by council? Mrs. Ramos?
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to say that I agree with the comments made by Mr. Pace and Mr. Recklick. And we don't often agree, do we?
No, we don't.
We do on this one.
Mark this down.
And I have said in an email also how I felt about this. So everybody has my statements in writing. But I have several, this is a very large wage. I think it's inappropriate. I'm not against raises. But the cost to the city, and we do need to sit down and look at this and use comparable cities. We did not take a tax base into consideration, like you guys have mentioned here tonight. And so I do not agree with this either.
All right, any other council members? Mr. Griffith?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I agree, as I said in the committee meeting, that we have to remain competitive with other cities to maintain the great employees we have. But I find myself concurring with Mr. Pace that I like the idea of a one-year proposal to be reviewed by the 3 new members of council who are going to be pretty much held to whatever we decide to do tonight. I would much rather that they have an input into the budget moving forward with what they would be strapped to. So concur with what the gentleman and council lady have said before me. I think we have to do something to raise the salaries of our non-bargaining employees. They deserve that. But I struggle with 3 years of commitment at this time.
Anyone else? All right, so what we got on the floor is orders 2023, what's it, a 3-year, rate increase of 7% per year. So we either vote it up or down, then we can come back with something else.
As I had indicated before, there's nothing tying anybody to these timeframes. this can be modified at any time. Because I've been asked that several times by people, and it doesn't tie anybody to it. As I said before, you can, council could tomorrow choose to defund my 3 prosecutors, and the judge wouldn't like it, because I can't be in 2 courtrooms at the same time, but council controls the purse strings, and there's nothing that binds council to this without modifying it in the future.
Mr. President?
Yes, Mrs. Ramos.
I've worked around government agencies for a very long time. And that is true, Mr. Fate, but usually if something's passed, it's never rescinded. And so it's either up or down on this.
Yes, Mr.
Mr. President,
Pace.
can we amend the current ordinance to just tie it to 2024?
You could amend it on the floor, yes.
So is that wishes of council to try to amend this ordinance?
The 7%.
Yes, Mr. Rickard, yes.
I know what you're saying, Mitch, but there's other things in that, not just 7% of individual amounts were looked at separately. So I believe fair to everybody, you vote yes or no tonight, and then you go through each one of those individuals, how they've been set up, to get them to a rate that is acceptable and today's standards. And then, again, as I spoke, I believe a competitive increase is deserving to each and every one of those non-bargaining people. That's not what I'm not saying they don't deserve anything. I agree, because they fell so far behind. That's why 3-4 years ago, we had to do such a large increase, which I supported totally. But I want everything to be based on merit and evaluations, that people are held accountable and rewarded for their duties at work. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Ramos.
And thank you for your comments. And there's some extra positions added in there too, which we need to look at.
All right, so we've got ordinance 23, 2023. I think we either voted up or down the way it stands. So can I ask for roll call?
Mrs. May?
Yes.
Mr. Holland?
Yes.
Mr. Lonser?
Yes.
Mr. Pace?
No.
Mrs. Ramos?
No.
Mr. Ricklick?
No.
Mr. Ribbit?
No.
All right, so ordinance 23, 2023 goes down, so we'll back to the drawing board, so.
Ordinance number 24, 2023, an ordinance by the Council of the City of New Philadelphia, Ohio, amending and adjusting the permanent appropriations ordinance for the year 2023 and declaring an emergency, first reading.
Is there any action to be taken by council on this tonight? Mr. Ricklick,
Mr. President, I ask we suspend the rules on ordinance 24, 2023.
do I have a second?
Second.
All right, Mr. Ramos, thank you. In discussion by administration, council, roll call.
Mr. Ricklick?
Yes.
Mrs. Ramos?
Yes.
Mr. Holland?
Yes.
Mr. Lonser?
Yes.
Mrs. May?
Yes.
Mr. Pace?
Yes.
Mr. Ribbit?
Yes.
All right, rules have been suspended. Mr. Ricklick,
Mr. President, I ask we pass ordinance 24, 2023 this evening.
do I have a second? Mr. Ramos, thank you. In discussion by the community, administration, council, roll call.
Mr. Ricklick?
Yes.
Mrs. Ramos?
Yes.
Mr. Holland?
Yes.
Mr. Lonser?
Yes.
Mrs. May?
Yes.
Mr. Pace?
Yes.
Mr. Ribbit?
Yes.
All right, ordinance 24, 2023 has passed.
That concludes legislation for this evening, Mr.
All right,
President.
thank you, Ms. Courtwright. Is there any unfinished road business? Is there any new business for council tonight? If not, entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mr. President, I'd make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Holland. We adjourned at 8:25.